Beating people with.
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to this Sunday's episode of Live at the Lounge. It is Sunday, June 9th, right? We just wrote that down.
We did confirm that.
We are live from Hideaway Humidor in South College Station. I got my friend David Levine sitting in the middle, Alex Jester sitting at the far end over there, and of course the guys from Texas Media Foundry. Thanks to them for coming out and running this whole thing for us, making us look far better than we are, especially in my current state of dress. Gentlemen, how was your week? Good, bad,
Great.
ugly?
I didn't get the shorts memo though.
Come on, man. I gotta let my legs out.
I mean, skies out, thighs out. I get it, but
sun's out, guns out.
Did you get that memo?
I did not.
Oh,
So-
son of a bitch.
Before we get too deep into this, guys, it is an interactive podcast. We are monitoring the chat feed on our phones. If you got any questions, topics you want to discuss with us, just jump on in, fire them in there. The guys will relay them to us, and we may go down some rabbit holes this evening.
Yep.
Some stuff this evening. I want to throw a big shout out to Alex sitting over there on the end. That dude has been studying his butt off this last month, and he has finished all of his prerequisites for his real estate licensing, and now he's just waiting on the state to invite him down. Alex, how does it feel, man?
It's really interesting to not have a whole bunch of stuff to do at nighttime, but then now I just realized how much stuff I've been putting off while I've been doing the studying. But man, it's really nice actually. That was I wouldn't say grueling. It was just very, very tedious. And then the route that I took was I don't know what the courses are, but the more I hear about it, if anybody's interested in getting your real estate license, please survey and look at the different types of media that they offer that you can go through, because the one I did, it actually required me to pass each individual test. And if you fail, you have to retake the test until you get 100%, every single section of that one. So 6 questions to 8 questions, somewhere in there. So if you fail, it's a whole new quiz. It's not just you got to take the one you missed over again until you pass. But
that was the one I took, though.
But I learned it really well. And the thing is, I'm finding is the people who took the other options are actually failing their finals when they go into the Pearson VUE test, like to do the final one. And that's got a pretty interesting high fail rate. But the one that I took, the CE shop, their final pass fail rate is like 84% passing, which is
because everybody gives up halfway through if they're going to fail.
Probably.
Well, what I did was I did the same classes as you. I just wrote down all the answers I didn't know. In writing them down, write down the question and the answer. That helped me for the next test. So I got through it pretty quickly. It wasn't terribly difficult. It was just like you said, monotonous, man. But what licensing isn't, you know?
It's true.
Yeah. I mean, it probably honestly takes, if you can dedicate time every day to it, you're probably looking at about 4 weeks. I mean, and that is being able to dedicate a good chunk of time for the one that I took, because you have to pass to progress. But I'm sure that you could do it same speed at another one, but you might not be as prepared.
It took me about 4 weeks of studying most days.
Yeah.
And, you know, it wasn't too bad. So if you want to move up, get a different career, there's other options other than college. You know, that's been a topic of discussion this week, especially noticing now that 2 different sources have conflicting ages on this. Alex, you were telling me 56?
I saw 56 today,
and,
but
the source I read was 47, but average age for electricians.
Mechanics are getting up there too.
I can't imagine plumbers are getting any younger either.
Yeah.
So tell us about that.
Well, I feel like a NASCAR driver. I'm having to adjust to looking to the right. This is a strange thing for being in the middle.
Get used to it, mate. Just sting a little bit at first.
Right. One of the things that I see in my industry is mechanics. There's a huge shortage of them to begin with. Dealers are starting to fight over them. They're starting to put out some pretty ridiculous offers. To remain unnamed store in the Houston area is offering a $10,000 signing bonus.
Do I need to break out my spanners? Is that what you're
if you got a manufacturer-specific master certification and are willing to move, there's money to be had.
So
How
let's say I
how
come
long
out
did
of,
you get that done?
yeah, let's say I come out of high school. I'm 18. I'm changing oil at the dealership. What's my career path? with you guys?
Let's
Well, so-
compare it to real estate. So
Yeah,
like
compared
it's
to real
like
estate.
you can do 4 or 6 weeks, get a real estate license. You can do it at 18. So
Yeah.
a
Well, but
mechanic,
here's the thing, and
how
so
long are you looking at?
you know, there are high schools left that have shop programs. Bryan High here in town has a very, very good shop program. But what we're seeing is these kids are getting out of the shop program. They're excited about it. They want to work on cars for a living. It's great money for people that don't know. At the master level, you're $38 to $45 an hour.
What am I as an 18-year-old? What am I making?
Starting 15 to 16 bucks an hour.
See, at 18,
Yeah.
and you're learning as well.
Yeah.
It's 35 grand a year. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's certain stores. Certain stores have air conditioned shops. Certain stores provide tools. Certain stores provide toolboxes. Considering the heat index today was 114, the air conditioned shop's a big draw.
So
you
you
pay me
did-
$30 an hour in an air conditioned shop, dude. I'll spin wrenches all day.
Yeah.
Exactly. So you've done mechanic stuff.
Yep.
I've worked in garages just
Yep.
doing messing around. What difference of a price cut would you take to work in an air conditioned garage
Well, and
over a
that's-
non-air conditioned?
There's been some industry articles on it.
I would cut $5 grand a year out of my salary.
Did
to
you
get
probably
air conditioning.
save that in Gold Bond?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's got to
Uh,
be miserable working. in it.
Gatorade and water?
There's been
Yeah.
some industry studies talking about what, especially in the South, what air conditioning shops do for productivity. They do for effective labor rate, what they do for technician retention. Yes, it's 10 grand a month in July for me to air condition a shop in electricity alone.
Yeah.
But we produce more in shop productivity because the guys aren't having to break every 15 minutes in 115, 120
Go
degree
get the water and
shops.
stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we still provide Gatorade and water and everything else, but the productivity goes way up.
Yeah.
But if you're a kid coming out of high school and you enjoy spinning wrenches or you're interested in it at all, go talk to the local dealerships. That a lot of them are looking for people that have a basic understanding of more than where the gas goes and where the pedal is.
Right.
But have been able to right. It's the third pedal that gets most people now. Damn. And I'm not talking about the parking brake.
Mhm.
These kids coming out of shop classes who have a pretty good understanding that could go into a dealership and change oil and make a living at it, have been, even though they're not ingrained for college, they've been ingrained that they have to go to these trade schools.
Right. Right.
Wyotech, UTI, things like that. And the issue with those is you come out and they're not any better than they were when they went in.
right.
They just 15 grand more in debt and think they know a lot more than they do.
Yeah. The
We-
whole debt for education thing kind of irritates me, man. Libraries are always free.
Well, we had a conversation with two kids recently that it's weird for me to call 18-year-olds kids,
But they are.
but we had a conversation with two kids recently who came out of the Bryan High program and were just adamant they had to go to Wyotech. And it's like, look, we're willing to pay you $15 to $18 an hour right now. We're willing to put you through the manufacturer-specific training, which the manufacturers have.
Yeah.
Some dealers, it's a double-edged sword. I've worked for dealers that are afraid to train technicians because they feel like they're going to give them they're going to
Train
pay
them to
money for a
leave, right?
skill to leave.
Yeah.
But if you're the employer of choice and you're investing in your people, and your people will invest in you.
That's the goal, and it's the one I repeat at my company is I want to make you good enough to be able to work anywhere, but I want the work environment to be good enough to where you
Well,
choose
I
not
want you to want my job because if you got my job, then I moved on to a better one, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully.
It's or I got replaced because I did a shitty job, and that's the same reason I should be
Same
gone.
reason, yeah.
But
But what I was saying about the trade stuff, there are dealerships that will, and independent shops as well. However, the difficulty with independent shops is the cost of diagnostic equipment now is so high.
right.
I had to replace a single laptop the other day. It was $4,000 dealer cost for a
What
diagnostic laptop.
What is this shortage though? If you're paying walkout kids $18 an hour from high school, what's that doing to wages? Because when we look at it from where we stand now, to do media and stuff, we're billing at $100 an hour.
Well, we had a long discussion the other day. I'm in the middle of a labor rate analysis where we're trying to look at, is our labor rate right? Is it profitable? Is it market competitive? And I was talking to one of our older service managers in one of our other dealerships, and he goes, I remember when we went from $35 to $38 an hour. And I thought, that's it. We're out of business. Nobody's ever going to come back. We might as well close the doors and look for jobs. Current average industry rate, I think, is somewhere around $138 an hour.
That's a lot, man.
But let's be realistic. So your average technician at a master level has $20,000 to $25,000 minimum in personally bought tools.
Mhm.
They've got tens of thousands of dollars worth of schooling provided by the dealership. I've got an air conditioned shop full of lifts. I've got $100,000 worth of special tools that I have to buy from the manufacturer.
Why do we still go and get degrees then?
So since the 80s, I think it was the 80s, there has been a push that if you don't go to college and get a degree, no matter what it's in, that you're a failure. When I was coming up in school, I believe, Alex, when you were coming up in school, it was, if you don't go to college and get a degree, then you'll never succeed in life.
Oh, my last 2 years of high school were like, this is going to be how you fill out your college application. This is the college application.
Well, the worst part was
they were like,
good on your application.
It doesn't uni. Uni is
it doesn't matter. They kept telling people it doesn't matter what you get in, you just have to get one.
Just get one.
Yeah, it says
like
you're
the new
trainable.
standard.
Well, no, that's bullshit. I don't have a degree. Newsflash, anybody knows me knows that. But
I didn't.
I never finished. I started at U of H.
Okay.
My degree was in mechanical engineering, and I said,
this is really difficult. Bye.
Well, it wasn't even that. It was.
That's what I would have said, dude.
So at 18, fortunately, I did a lot of stupid shit between 18 and 25. Fortunately, for some reason, I had this moment of clarity at 18, and I was sitting in a college class listening to a professor grandstand about nothing about the topic, and I went, "This isn't for me. I'm not ready for this. I'm not going to get the $50,000 a year out of it."
If I'd gone to college at 18, I wouldn't have got it either. And
right.
I did. I got in between tours. I got a music scholarship to go drum at college. I made it about 6 weeks because nobody would actually do any work. It was always, great, we're at college. It's 10 o'clock in the morning. Let's go and smoke some weed. I'm like, well, that's all good. But I'm trying to get a degree out of this,
So when I moved to College Station in 2008, I had an intention of going back to A&M and finishing my degree in either mechanical engineering or aerospace or something like that. What I found was the system is so broken in a lot of ways. I had 15 or 18 credit hours. It wasn't anything crazy. It was like a semester basically. And 3.7, 3.6 GPA, somewhere in there. And the transfer requirement was you either have to have 0 hours or you have to have like your entire freshman and sophomore year complete. There was no in between.
Like 60 hours?
Yeah. It was like 0 hours or 60 hours, period. No negotiation, no difference. We don't accept transfers with less than X hours. Like, so you can go to Blinn and you can knock hours out. I'm like, okay, well, it's cheaper. Let's try that. This was at 20 or 21, and I went, man, this is expensive. I can't work. And I was working part-time as a mechanic at the time, making pretty good money. And what I saw happening was I saw money going out, sitting in school, listening to a social studies lecture going, I don't think I need this.
It's social studies. I mean, really.
Versus
what good is it?
Versus going to work more hours and making more money. It was a direct correlation there. And I went, I just need to work more.
We have a question from Eric. He says, do newly trained fresh mechanics, similar in the way the trucking industry does, will it send you to school and train you, but you got to like work for a year to pay off the cost of the school? And you'll have a thing where you sign them for a
Can they do that?
time?
Isn't that kind of indentured labor?
No, so there's
slave labor.
It really depends on the state as to whether that's allowed or not and the way that it works. So there are certain, and I can only speak for my specific store that I'm at and the way that we handle it. Every store is different. Every manufacturer is different. Typically, before we send you to a manufacturer-sponsored school, which is a cost to the store, we're going to want you to work for us for X number of months. Maybe it's 90 days, maybe it's 120.
Right. Yeah.
Make sure you're going to stick. Make sure you're competent. Make sure you're not going to do anything that, and we want to give you the basic fundamentals. We're going to apprentice you under one of our master techs, and they have a vested interest in making sure that you succeed because they get paid on what you make. So
that makes sense.
We also include the master techs in the hiring process.
See, I'm trying to replicate that in my real estate company right now, and including the senior guys in the hiring decisions.
Well, and that's been the biggest game changer. Is you're not just handing somebody this fresh kid and saying train them how to be a mechanic, and you have this weird oil and water friction thing where I'm your boss, no you're not, I don't work for you, you don't know what you're talking about, that kind of crap. And by including that master tech that's going to have that apprentice in the decision-making process, the success rate is so much higher.
It's like all businesses have the same issues, just with different painting on them. And we have the exact same issue with the whole hierarchy and structure and who's in charge of who and what job is what job. I think the only way around that is processes and procedures and having a very clear hierarchy.
Well, I'm, myself and our service manager have been on very high alert watching everything that's going on recently, almost to a fault, because there are stores actively trying to poach technicians because it is such a shortage. A master tech like I said, it's like a $10,000 signing bonus. Plus, I think they're guaranteeing like $5 or $7 an hour over what you're making now, and relocation.
Yeah, I mean, how do you say no to that?
I mean, it makes you very nervous as an operator because those people are worth that much, and you don't want to get into a bidding war over it. But at the same time, you hope that the people that you've invested in have enough loyalty, and loyalty is a really hard word.
If run properly, though, your service department should be one of the main profit centers of the dealership.
It's a large part.
Yeah. So is it worth paying that extra?
But it's difficult because, like I said, I've been working on a labor rate analysis for the last couple of days, and what I'm seeing is certain brands have higher service penetrations than others. You look at BMW, for example, or any of your luxury brands; they have very high service penetrations.
That's because I don't want to change the oil on my own BMW.
Well, not only that, but a lot of it's complementary. And so
it's a very nice shirt you have on. May I change your oil?
Exactly. But a lot of new vehicles are coming with complimentary maintenance, and that's for one of two reasons. One is a loyalty metric where the manufacturer...
You get used to coming back to the shop.
Yes.
I've been coming to this shop now for 3 years, getting my oil changed. There's a shiny new car there. I fancy that.
All the studies say, and I'm winging the numbers here a little bit, but I'm going to be close.
I don't think you're going to get fact checked, mate.
With no complimentary maintenance, your first service retention rate's around 50%.
Right.
It's not great. With complimentary maintenance, it's like 90+%.
Yeah,
right.
If you change my oil for free, I'm going to come back and get my oil.
And people get addicted to discount; they don't get addicted to free. And so, if you get people for their first 2 oil changes or the first 2 services, and you wow them, just quick, well done, well presented, professional, good amenities, then they're going to continue to come back.
Right.
It's more of an issue in less expensive to maintain brands. Mazda's a great example. They run a lot of conventional oil. They only run 5 quarts.
It's because they never break.
That's part of the problem.
People are getting in trouble though for designing life expectancy into products.
Well, designed obsolescence is an issue.
Obsolescence.
Yeah, designed obsolescence is an issue. The store that I work at, being a multi-brand store, we have a Japanese brand and a German brand, and they work so differently in the way that their customer retention is. The German brand uses a synthetic oil. It's a longer interval. It's a more expensive oil change. You tend to get a higher return rate because they're more complicated to work on, and there's no savings going anywhere else.
Absolutely.
With the Japanese brand, the maintenance cost is low. There's not a lot of recalls. There's not a lot of breakage. So what tends to happen is they forget that the manufacturer service department exists.
Now, you get a lot of vehicles then because the German brand's built in Mexico, don't they?
Some of them.
South Carolina.
Some of them. So for example, Volkswagen has a plant. They have a massive plant in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Okay.
Massive plant. And then they also have a plant, and I think it's Puebla.
So how's the tariff war? How's these recent tariffs started affecting?
Well, believe it or not,
Volkswagen?
Why can't we get the Toyota Hilux?
The Hilux?
Hilux.
I don't know. You'd have to ask Toyota.
I want that car so bad.
The Mexico thing's been really interesting recently because Volkswagen's had some supply chain problems coming out of Mexico.
Well, I do know that the tariffs caused a massive swing in the stock market last week.
Yes.
And I'm just wondering if, because Friday, for those of you who don't know, the president tweeted that the tariffs.
I like how that's our official.
We weren't gonna.
Official stance is that we go by what tweets come out.
Well, I think
somebody at Twitter is just
I think it's
furiously enjoying themselves because of that.
I think it's a future-defining moment. The fact that without radio, because it used to be a radio address or a television address,
the fireside chats.
Whoever's in charge of the president's Twitter account can talk to us directly.
Yeah,
I think that's really kind of. I think it's really good.
Well, it's been an interesting looking glass of what's going on. For a long time, I was convinced that Trump got up in the morning, sat on the toilet, and decided who he was going to fuck with today. I was convinced that how it worked because it was always at a specific time and it was always just something outlandish. But
drinking that many Diet Cokes a day has to get to you too.
It's got to. But the Mexico thing has been interesting because Volkswagen had some supply chain problems where they were getting cars backed up in Mexico. It was 25 or 26,000 cars that had finished production and were sitting in Mexico at the port.
Really?
Yeah, and they were having issues where the facility got so packed. It used to be first in, first out. Well, the facility got so packed they couldn't get to the cars that came in first, and so they were trying to fight their way through the backlog. Well, the threat of the Mexico,
Because they bring most of their stuff up by train.
it's
don't
all
they?
rail.
Yeah.
It's all rail. There's one rail line that runs to all the production facilities. It hits Volkswagen's facility, it hits GM's facility,
Right.
Toyota's facility, and it's just all autos, and it comes through and
The
it goes.
quickest
It
way to
runs,
do
I
it.
think, once a week or once every 2 weeks. Single line comes down empty, goes back full. Well, it's a government-run rail line, and so even if you don't put any cars on it, you have to pay full price.
Right.
And so Volkswagen's been missing some of their deadlines to get cars out, and it's caused some shortage on the U.S. side. Well, the threat of tariffs, combined with them freeing up a couple auto ships, for those that don't know, any vehicle built overseas that's not by rail accessible, they have specific boats that are.
Oh yeah.
They hold 5,000 to 7,000 cars
I can
each.
imagine them doing that with airplanes.
right.
It would be much more sense to put one on a boat.
Ferrari does that.
They do airplanes?
A lot of their special edition cars are shipped by plane.
Well, of course, but that's
Yeah.
Ferrari. It's not Volkswagen.
It's much quicker. Well, I mean, Lamborghini is Volkswagen.
I
So
like
is Bugatti.
I like Lamborghini more than Ferrari.
Yeah. So did Ferruccio Lamborghini.
I don't know. I think I'd
Built
like
a
one
great tractor in Europe still.
I'd like one of each.
Yeah.
My next door neighbor growing up was a farmer, and he had a Lamborghini tractor, and it was a 19.
They still build them. I found the website the
They
other
look
day.
awesome.
It was a
Yeah.
1984.
They're more
model.
expensive than the cars.
It had a B registration plate on it. I think it was 84 or 83 in the UK. And me growing up, I thought it was the bee's knees because it had the Lamborghini, had the bull on the front
Yeah.
and everything. It was like Don's got a Lamborghini. But
Tractor.
as I had a Countach on the wall in my
Great
bedroom.
Well, it
torque.
started because he
Who
he
didn't
got,
have
he
a
got pissed
Countach
off
on
by
their wall?
he
Right.
got pissed
Who
off by
didn't?
Enzo because Enzo wouldn't
Yeah.
sell him
Well,
a
when
Ferrari.
Enzo Ferrari wouldn't sell Ferruccio Lamborghini a car, he said, "Fine, I'll build a better car."
Build a better car.
And he
Yeah.
said, "I'd like to see you try."
And he did.
And he did.
Uh,
And then the
but-
Ford GT came.
yeah, and the Ford GT came, which that movie's coming out. I'm kind of excited.
I am excited for that.
But so this whole Volkswagen thing, they sent 2 or 3 auto ships and went from 26-ish thousand cars in Mexico to like 5,500 cars or 6,000 cars in Mexico in like a week.
And all of yours are still in Mexico.
3/4 of them are still sitting in Mexico. I've got one that was finished production January 31st that hasn't left Mexico yet.
We've got a couple of native Spanish speakers on the staff, man. You should just send them down there.
I'll do a run.
You'll do a run, a Mexico
Right.
run. You down, Joe?
I had a review from a customer come in, a survey return today.
Joe
and
ain't going to Mexico.
entirely in Spanish. But I mean, the cost that they cost that they incurred by doing that is huge. I mean, it's tens of millions of dollars, but it was going to be significantly less than what the tariffs were going to be.
Yep.
So thank you, Trump, on that one. I got some cars back in the U.S.
Well, I can't wait to see what the stock market does in the morning.
Yeah.
Now that news that the tariffs are lifted is up. I mean, I think it'll, especially if they move the percentages on the tariffs with China and stuff like that. I think
Well,
he may
you
have
know-
been right in saying we've been losing this trade war for the last 30 years. We're going to address the balance.
Well, another thing you need to realize is too is that he's not just this guy that sits there and goes, the rate's this now, and then like it
No,
changes.
yeah,
There's a
yeah.
lot of other people that are involved with all that, but I think it's interesting with the tweeting,
Tweeting.
but yeah, it's like twitting. But it's a bunch of twits, but they dictate
Large
what's going
portion.
on. But he's very, very get the news out,
Oh, he's just
but
stable
like he
genius,
just
mate.
says whatever, as opposed to holding an official
well,
conference.
considering I'm still convinced that he's president because of a bad bar bet. I think somebody.
Hold my beer. What's this?
No, I swear to God, it's going to come out in a memoir later that he was sitting around with some other billionaire, and they said, "You could never be president." And he goes, "Yeah, bet you $1 I could."
I think it was the dinner
Um,
with Obama when he literally told him that he wasn't going to be the president, and
Yeah.
he
Watch me.
2 years later.
Simpsons predicted it. Do we have any feed on the
Well, Back to the Future actually predicted it. Back to the Future 2.
Biff Tannen?
There's a really, really interesting conspiracy video about Back to the Future 2 and how it mimics what happened and how it.
This is why people don't take your conspiracy seriously.
It's kind of funny, but yeah, if you look at Biff Tannen, I mean, how much does he look like Donald Trump? I mean,
Well,
that's
that's
who
the
they based
Simpsons.
him on.
The Simpsons episode that came out in the late '90s that Donald Trump won and won this landslide unexpected victory, and he was the new president of the United States. And
You know, I can't tell what's going on politically because if you look at
Unmitigated shit show.
if you look at one side of the news, it's everybody impeach Trump. He's a criminal. He's doing this shit. He's doing that shit. And if you look at the other side of the news, it's everybody arrest Clinton, which does lead to an interesting news week this week. I don't know if,
I find it interesting that the left has gotten so far left that the moderate Republicans' position is now where the left used to be.
exactly.
You've got a Republican president that was historically Democrat for most of his life, who is pushing old school Democratic ideas of infrastructure spending and some taxation, and the Republicans are supporting it because everything has moved that far. When the left has moved all the way to the point of democratic socialism, which is the polite way that they're calling it now.
I just think, why can't we all just be friends and get along?
I still go with the old Bill and Ted philosophy.
Yeah.
Just be excellent to each other and move on.
I think there's 80% of people that are
Right.
around the same mentality,
Yeah.
and then there's the 10 on each side that are just so crazy that get the media exposure. But then I kind of
They're more
view it
fun
as
film.
between. I mean, like we're going along this cycle where there's a pendulum and it's swinging, but it's swinging bigger and bigger. And I think eventually what's going to happen is the stand that's holding up is going to
Fall
Slow
over.
down.
tip and fall
Yeah.
over, and then I don't know what
Well,
would
there'll
happen then.
be a
but-
reshuffling of parties,
That's why they
which
call
there
them
has been
revolutions.
historically.
Because shit revolves. It just comes around. It just comes around.
Well, but you know, it's hard not to support infrastructure spending. Anybody that's traveled anywhere in the U.S., especially the older cities,
why aren't we doing that? Why
because
is so much
because
money
until
going
bridges,
overseas?
until more
Stupid.
bridges start collapsing and killing people,
There's not been enough collapse already.
apparently not.
So, what happened this week?
You mean the strange systematic elimination of retired Republican senators?
Did we not get
There's only
two?
two.
We got two senators killed.
That sounds.
I know.
We got the,
I was
the
just joking.
New York police chief killed.
Yeah,
We got one of the lead detectives on the Anthony Weiner laptop case
killed.
We got
Retired Arkansas senator,
it was an Arkansas senator,
the Little Rock area
and an
senator.
Oklahoma senator.
Oklahoma.
Yeah,
Killed.
killed.
And then we got this.
All within like 3 days of each other.
Yeah, we got this fellow
in
arrested
suspicious
too.
circumstances.
We got this fellow arrested too, Joaquin Garcia,
Yeah,
the fellow in charge of the largest church in Mexico.
Roman Catholic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Arrested in LA this weekend on human trafficking and paedophilia charges. How much does human trafficking have to do with sealing that southern border? That's my question.
Well,
That's always one of the
I tried to-
unspoken parts of the whole border patrol that's going on is like people want to call ICE out on putting kids in cages and stuff, but then the fact that people are using the kids in cages or using kids
why are
as,
those
as
kids being brought over?
leverage to be
Yeah.
brought over to do things, kind of stuff with, but the stats on preventing trafficking of children across the border is pretty staggering if you look at the numbers that come.
You know, the U.S. doesn't have the world's greatest track record of dealing with immigrant populations. Everybody seems to forget about the Japanese internment camps under FDR.
That was a rampant media scare for the start of the war,
Yes.
and they came out later and said that they did not think that there was a threat, but it was absolutely fear driven.
Oh, absolutely fear-driven. But you find me a history textbook that has it in it. There's not a lot of them left.
No, that's true. a lot of people don't
we
know
talked
about
the
that.
Trail of Tears last week
Or
with
Not being an American, are you familiar with that part of?
Oh yeah, I know there was. Well, they called them internment camps, and in Europe, we heard them as concentration camps.
We
That's what they called them in our textbooks.
yeah, they were
literally
Japanese
rounded
concentration
up
camps,
They rounded
any people who
Japanese
looked
immigrants.
Japanese-ish.
and they were in. A lot of them were in the eastern side of California, if I remember
I mean,
correctly.
they did the same in Germany with the Jews.
Yeah, well,
They
they're
did.
not. And here's the thing: is
They
as
did
a-
issue reparations, but it wasn't.
it doesn't make up for
It doesn't make up for it.
You can't. That's like saying, this is gonna be a really extreme example. That's like saying, you killed somebody's relative, but here's $100. Sorry, here's some money. Stay quiet. You assault somebody. Here's some money. Stay quiet.
It was a lot for
Um,
like lost wages and things like
yeah,
that. But it wasn't. It didn't make up for it. But it was weird because that was one of the times that the U.S. actually admitted fault for doing something and like issued that as opposed to like, sorry, like here you go.
Well, go back to Trail of Tears stuff.
Oh, yeah.
That's been whitewashed completely. The peaceful relocation of the indigenous people. That was a slaughter.
It wasn't exactly that. Yeah, we've seen
Now,
it.
I'm not going to sit here and make apologies for what was done 200 years ago or 300 years ago, because what was acceptable then, we can't hold 200-year-old events against the current moral compass. It's never going to work.
No.
That being said, you talk about concentration camps in Europe. Being Jewish, it wasn't just the Jews that were persecuted. Yes, we were the largest group, but you had the Gypsies, you had the Slavs, you had.
Yeah, but nobody likes gypsies.
Yeah.
I mean,
Nobody liked Jews either at the time.
we get along. I mean.
Right, but it's scary to me, the resurgence of anti-Semitism in the U.S. right now.
Well, I think that's got a lot to do with the banking system.
When
and the
I don't
media.
think it does. But when I moved to College Station, I legitimately had people I worked with as a mechanic going, I've never met a Jewish person before.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
It is Central Texas.
So I don't see Jewish as a race. I just see you as David. I mean, it's
Well,
like
it's true, but
I don't think Jew is a race. It's just like
It is.
Catholics. Is it considered a
yeah.
race?
it is.
Is Catholicism
yeah, and-
considered a race?
Isn't it-
No, because you go back to
aren't you all female led, like a matriarch?
yes.
thing? Yeah.
So
Yeah, I don't-
Judaism, your birthright is passed to the mother, which is one of very few religions that it passes to the mother.
Oh.
But you go back to the Jewish people coming out of Israel in those areas, which at the time wasn't Israel, right? But
Mhm.
it's difficult too because you have sitting leaders, congressional leaders, who are anti-Semitic, openly anti-Semitic, and for some reason it's been allowed.
Walt Disney.
Walt
Wow.
Disney was huge anti-Semite.
I got to stop for a minute.
What?
Hi, Sam. I have a question. Are they the same shorts you wore at school sports day in 1985? Cheers, Mark Jarvis. I noticed Mark
You gotta
was
remember
watching.
to cross those legs, man. You're
Dude,
gonna get something more than they're looking for.
I noticed Mark was
You have to
watching
blur
earlier,
something out on
actually. And Mark, a couple of years older than me, he was in my older sister's grade at school, and he was always one of the big kids on the school bus. And my endearing memory of Mark Jarvis was him telling me how he'd got these new Reebok trainers and he could run faster than everyone else. And the other thing was his absolute fucking obsession with Mark Knopfler and Dire Straits. And this was in elementary school. I think he was about 8 or 9 years old when he started
Knopfler's a
introducing me to
phenomenal
Dire
guitarist.
Straits and telling me this is the best guitarist you ever heard. And Mark Jarvis went on to be, I don't know what he is now, we haven't talked to him in quite a while, but he went on to be an extremely accomplished guitarist. So if you're ever around with a guitar, if I'm ever at home with some drums, we should definitely
Mark Knopfler is
definitely hook that
phenomenal.
up. So Mark Jarvis was one of the older kids, and he influenced me just a little bit, turned me on into that Dire Straits and into a little bit of guitar. And it was maybe through that I found Pink Floyd. I don't remember, but anyway, shout out to Mark for watching. Thank you. These are not the same shorts, mate. And no, I didn't win. I don't think I won any prizes at Sports Day. I wasn't the fastest guy on the field by any stretch of the imagination. So, but it is good to hear from you. So, imagine that. I don't think I've talked to that guy in 20 years.
Well,
That's one of the things I actually really like about social media with Facebook and stuff. A lot of people use it to just put their problems on. And I can't tell you how many people, I don't unfriend many people, but what'll happen is I will absolutely unfollow so I don't
Yeah.
see any. Because
Yeah.
after a while I go, that's all you post about. I don't
but
care.
at the same
And-
time, social media has got a lot of downsides with
oh, yeah. I was going with the
Yeah.
positives.
well,
But like I have people who are friends from grade school
Yeah.
that I see, and you know what? I've gone back, and a guy who I hadn't seen since pretty much 8th grade, I went back on a Christmas holiday, and he was doing something with some beer, and I was learning about making beer at the time, and he invited me over to his house, showed me all the different stuff, and we had a drink.
It's great, isn't it? I mean, half the reason I have Facebook, obviously, is because I don't live at home anymore. I don't see any of those people. And, you see girls that you went to school with now, and they've got their own kids that are teenagers, and they're sending them off to school. It's great. I love it. Even though it's the biggest spying tool in the history of spying tools,
Right.
just having the ability to be able to keep in contact with my family and with the kids that I grew up with, it's just, I was thinking about it today. Before that, what would you do? You might get a phone call once a month with somebody, or you'd completely disconnect.
your circle was certainly smaller,
Yeah.
but you had to make an effort to communicate with people.
Mhm.
And what I find with social media, the thing that bothers me about it in a lot of ways, is you don't feel it necessary to reach out and talk to people because
You're caught up.
you're caught up. You see, oh, okay, they're still good, they're still doing all right. Short of some posting something negative, and most people, what you're looking at is the highlight reel. You're not looking at the problems. Hey, we had this great time on vacation, not holy crap, how are we going to pay for this vacation?
Oh,
You know?
I don't post my problems on social media. I got plenty of them.
Right.
I don't need any help.
But again, it's the highlight reel.
I'll dig my
And
own holes.
That I
Yeah.
think that's part of the problem we have with current generation and feeling like their opinion is more relevant.
I think that's the same thing. I think there are people who post the highlight reel and people who post the negative highlight reel just so like they're complaining about stuff or cheering about their things. But if you do look at somebody like yourself or myself, it's really weird. The people that I really do cling to,
Yeah.
if I look at their social media presence, it's usually pretty limited. But
Yes.
what I'll see is there will be a positive thing, but usually, like, you know, say like I went to like Thailand or something with my friend, I'd post a photo of something, but it was more along the lines of like, I want to show some of my friends. And then I have had a lot of people contact me. I have all of my notes on the trip that I've sent them out to them. And I'm like, here's the places to stay, people to see, people to talk to.
Here's what not to do.
And not to do. Exactly. Because there was a thing like with Thailand, there's a lot of people who think it's pretty, like, it's not preposterous. It's odd to them that they have pictures of their king on the wall at their places, and he looks like a goofy, or he did. He passed away.
Up, we had a picture of the Queen on the wall at primary school.
If you
in
make
the lunch
fun
hall, the Queen
of
was on the wall.
The royalty in Thailand, most people understand that you're a foreigner and that you're just visiting, but it is a punishable offense that you can serve time if you actually say something against them, especially after he died recently and they've been going through mourning and everything like that. But it's interesting that the people who, going back to it, there's a small group of people that I really do like, is because it's not just the highlight reel.
Sure.
Like, you know, I'll see things you post. Sometimes it's funny stuff. Sometimes it's the basketball game. Sometimes it's like racing car pictures and stuff. But it's not a highlight reel. You're not there at the Le Mans.
Right.
But I think it's really cool that you're posting about that. You know, I like that kind of stuff.
Well, you know, my social media, and I think I've talked about this last week. One of the things that I've been doing with anybody that I work with, I had to learn to manage my social image. Right. And what I posted on social media and what was out there about me.
Mm-hmm.
And so some people don't think about that. They think their social media is insulated. It's not.
It is not.
And
you can find anything. I mean, I posted some stupid shit 10 years ago.
Well, and that's the thing, is the memories come around, and 90% of the time when the memories pop up, it's not a repost. It's a holy crap, I got to delete that.
We never asked for a transcript of my old company for anybody. We would get the resume, but never looked at their education to make sure they went to that place. They could have lied about where they went. We did look them up on Facebook and see what they look like.
You can buy an employer
and
account.
what they were doing.
They're requesting social media passwords now for people coming into the country.
Yeah,
I know that started in Canada. Probably not
requesting their passwords.
You have to check social media because they're looking for: are you posting extremist things? Are you posting? Yeah. It's not in the U.S. It's in some other countries.
Definitely Canada.
Wow.
Definitely Canada. It'll be following along here soon. But you know, back to highlight reels of the day, right? My highlight today, except for hanging out with you guys, obviously, and talking on the podcast. My highlight today was I played Monopoly with my kids.
Your bullshit Yorkshire edition.
Yeah, the Yorkshire edition.
No wonder you won.
You got to take every advantage you can. But you know, that was a highlight.
They're
of my
8.
Day.
So
they'll learn.
And you know,
you talking about having advantages by playing the Yorkshire edition.
I strategically bankrupted both of my children.
Typically, you have to wait until you're in your 80s to do that.
I felt so bad doing it because a dad's job is to set his kids up for the success in the future.
No,
but I'm like, no,
it's to teach them that life sucks and they have to do better.
Watch this, land on my hotel, see how you feel now.
But you know what? The next time your kid sits there and he does something and he leverages the property, you'll be like, look at that. You're learning that. That's great.
You know, do you know what Daddy does for a living? You lost because this is what Daddy does every day, not because Daddy's good at Monopoly.
The guy that's doing commercial real estate development plays his 8-year-old and his 6-year-old Monopoly. There's a fucking news story.
It's phenomenal. But I mean, it's like when I was a kid and I used to play my dad in horse, he would beat us. You know, like he would show, but he would beat us. But he would beat us like with a trick shot. But then he would say, "Hey, look how I did it," and he'd let us sit there and like practice it over and over again. And he goes, "Try it," and then you do it, and he goes,
"I used to play pool with my dad, and he'd beat me every time, and now he won't play me."
Well, what William doesn't know is that I kept slipping Charlie extra hundreds. Charlie's 5. He still went out before William, but
he's 5.
I try and give him a little advantage.
You get all those pink 50s
in his change. I kept slipping him extra hundreds, and he's like, "Oh, I got enough money. I'll buy this. And William's scratching his head, going, "Well, how are you getting all this money, Bubba?" And
like, it was under the board. I'm sorry.
I was just slipping him extra hundreds.
It was a capital expenditure.
He's got to get some. He's got to get some competitive advantage. Poor Charlie. I mean, he's 5, and he wanted to be the banker. And I'm really impressed because what Monopoly does, as well as teaching them the crushing feeling of defeat and going bankrupt,
and that the rent is too damn high.
What it does, it teaches them to count.
That
It teaches them to
awesome.
make change.
Yeah.
You know, hey Charlie, you've got a set, so it's $26, but you got that set, so that means it's doubled. How much is that?
I've watched adults at places of business when you pay in cash. It takes them a minute. They're like using their fingers to count out change, and I'm like, They're fixed denominations. This doesn't take a lot of work.
I don't understand that because
You ever get it where it's like $16.23 and you give them like $22?
Yeah,
And they sit there and they go,
huh.
and they move the $2 like aside
Yeah.
and then give you the change and then put it back. They're like, "Are you sure?" And it's like, "Yeah, give me a $5."
Yeah.
I feel bad because I was like, I think I've got a quarter. You hand them a quarter, and it just like the entire brain just stops. It grinds to a halt. But
No.
that's the convenience of plastic, man. That's just what it's
Plastic.
done to us.
Plastic also doesn't make you feel like it's real money, and that's why cashless transaction grows in the rate it does.
But
That's why debit cards became easier. That's why Apple Pay came around.
it's also
It wasn't for convenience. It was for consumerism.
absolutely because you can spend more. So I generally pull out a couple of $100 at the beginning of the week, and that's my running money.
Yeah.
I buy gas on my debit card, but all my food, all my snacks, my coffee, everything I pay cash for because I feel the pain. Like, do I really want this coffee? Yeah, no, I'll just walk in the kitchen and at work and make one.
Yeah.
The difference between a $5 coffee from the coffee shop and a free one from the coffee machine is the pain of handing over that $5.
Well, when you buy the coffee machine, it's not free anymore.
It's
True.
included in the office rent, okay?
Yeah.
So we have a delivery service. They drop off coffee. All I've got to do is literally just put it in the top of the thing, click the button,
Yeah.
wait 2 minutes, it comes out. But some days
Is that
you
how a
just-
coffee maker works?
some
days-
days you want an Americano.
Some days they make Alex do it, but
Yeah.
I should say that nobody makes me do it. But I'm not gonna go down and pay $5
Well,
for
I've
coffee.
gotten-
I'll sit there.
Alex
and
has
make
the
it.
best joke. He says, "Oh, I'm installing Java."
Yeah.
He
Oh,
sits there and he sips
I
his
walked
coffee.
past the room with all the tech guys, and I go, "Hey, I'm installing Java," and they're like, "What?" I'm like,
What? Oh, he's drinking coffee. But it
Yeah.
does work, man. It does work, and we have a decent time. At
and then
work.
later on, I reinstall it.
You just like reconfirmed your virginity. Like you just reinstituted your virginity by making that joke.
True to the podcast meme, I have a girlfriend.
I know.
You don't know her. She goes to a different school,
She goes to a different school and she lives in another state.
but I do have a girlfriend. I promise.
Oh God.
We laughed a lot about that meme. It was really funny.
Oh man. The coffee thing is tough because like I've got the Starbucks app on my phone and I got in this habit where I'd get in the car
have
in the
an
morning. Oh yeah, it's fantastic.
All you do is you show the thing and it
No,
beeps and
not
it
even
tells you
that.
shit.
I get in the car in the morning, can order it from my phone. It's sitting on the bar ready when I get to Starbucks. I've got it timed. Sitting on the bar ready. I walk in, pick it up, walk back out, I'm done. I don't even have to say a word to a human before 9 a.m. It's amazing. But it makes it really easy to spend $6 or $7 on a cup of coffee.
Jesus.
That was something I was thinking about earlier. Interaction with humans. I'm interacting with humans all day on this thing,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's a pain in the ass to walk next door and chat with your neighbor because it's hot. Do I really want to mess with that?
My neighbor was having a grand old time the other night.
It's terrifying for a lot of people. Megan the other day, she made a call and she got the voicemail, and she didn't leave a voicemail. And then she went through and texted them, with an explaining what she was doing.
To text.
I know, but I've always just been trained in my head that it's okay to leave a voicemail. You can follow up as well, but voicemails aren't
See, we train around voicemail now.
really.
Yeah. I intentionally train around voicemail. We do not allow people to send texts until they've received an opt-in notification. Because of there were some pretty major lawsuits a couple of months ago.
There have been.
Yeah, but it's a little bit different. If somebody's got their house for sale by owner on the market, you can text them about
I'm
the house.
pretty
If there's
sure
a reasonable-
Zillow probably has.
Yeah.
if
things
there's a
around that.
reasonable expectation of contact.
Right.
But the laws are still written as if people pay per text.
Mhm.
So we train around voicemail when we're prospecting. And the reason is you eliminate the reason for that person to call you back. If you convey the message that you're trying to convey. Now, if it's something as simple as, hey, this is so-and-so from blank, call me when you get a chance. Here's my number. But
we always get
they
calls
know to
back.
call you because you called them.
Yeah, we always get calls back when
Well,
we
this-
say, I'm calling about the house you got for sale.
Yeah.
We don't tell them it's
So you're a
because it
realtor.
hasn't sold in 6 months and
Right,
we'd like
right.
to have a crack at selling it.
Right.
But no, if you tell them, hey, we're calling about the house you got for sale, you always get a call back.
The thing
Yeah.
the thing I have to run into though is when somebody is calling me and they don't leave a voicemail, I get, just like Sam, I don't know, 10 robocallers a day
Sure.
from
Yeah.
garbage that I don't
The
pick up.
the robocallers are so frustrating because I basically have to answer my phone when every call comes in.
Yeah,
Right.
I do too.
And so you pick up the phone and just wait for a second just to see what it is.
Hi,
well-
this is Becky.
No, the ones I'm getting now are live callers. And this is a really interesting. Hey, I'm calling for Steve. Oh, there's no Steve here. Oh man, my bad. Maybe you can help me out.
No, I
Yeah.
can't.
Click.
Steve's not here. Bye.
Rick
Yeah.
Rick got one today. I was sitting with our buddy Rick, and he got one. He put it on speakerphone, and the guy sounded real. sounded
Well, the
real.
new
But he was a
Google
bot.
Voice,
He was
Google
a bot.
Assistant,
It was
yeah.
unbelievable.
Go watch the current videos on the Google Assistant interactions, like natural language speech progression and everything, where they have this thing call some really difficult situations, like call a restaurant that doesn't take reservations and try to set a reservation.
Right.
And it figures out, okay, what's the average wait time? It asked that question.
Mhm.
That wasn't a question you told it to ask.
Right.
At the same time, they had another one where they had it call a Chinese restaurant.
Mhm.
That's one of the more difficult things for anybody to do.
I
right?
can't do it.
He can't.
I can't. I just tell him what I want. He calls the restaurant for me. I have a just.
He has a fear of angry Chinese women on the phone.
Yeah, it's not like not racist or anything. I love me some Chinese folks, but talking to them on the phone, trying to order the stuff is just like it's one of my. It's just it doesn't jive with me, dude. I struggle with it.
I mean, it's everybody's
Everybody has
things.
phobias. That's a weird one.
It's
but
not so much a
It's
phobia.
not a phobia.
What I wanted to bring up though, like 15 years ago, it was all about what kind of ringtone you've got and how does your phone sound. Is it
Oh my
called-
God. Do you remember ringback tones?
Yeah,
I know adults that still have ringback tones.
Crumpacker's probably still got one.
He doesn't.
He was like the first guy I knew that had one.
So I had a guy that worked with me that was in a management position that had a ringback tone. And it drove me nuts. I'm like, you've got to fix this. Like we have your cell phone number on business cards. We have it posted places. And they call you and they get a shitty MIDI interpretation of Bach.
Limp
like-
Bizkit.
right? I mean, it's classical music, but it blares in your ear. It's a terrible representation of it. And I didn't even know the service still existed.
Mm-hmm.
I think though, for real conversations and communication, everything's moved over to text. And the problem with that is you lose so much inflection.
You lose
tone.
inflection. You lose emotion.
So it's
that's why
it's way more difficult to close sales by text. But it's
way easier to piss people off.
It's the preferred method of communication. That's how people want to be talked to.
That's why I do leave voicemails. But then what I'll do is I'll actually follow up with an email address when I have one of them as well, or actually working with a customer. And one of the things I'm excited about doing with real estate is from the very get-go asking somebody how they're comfortable getting
so there's a lot of
should I email you?
Selling stuff. It's about relationships. It's about building trust and building.
In my industry, there's a lot of papers that have been put out talking about in your first communication with a customer, if somebody reaches out to the store and they initiate contact and they give you 1 or 2 points of communication, if they only give you one, if they only give you an email address, then you got to work with email.
Sure.
But if they give you a phone number and they give you an email, you shoot them an email, you shoot them a call, and you shoot them an opt-in text. The opt-in text reads as, the email says, let me know your preferred method of communication, and that's how we'll continue from here forward.
Right.
If it's text, if it's email, if it's whatever. And then we build our CRM follow-up process around that set method of communication.
Literally, my voicemail will end with, I'll follow this up with an email as well. Let me know what works best for you.
Yep.
And in the email, send it right after that. Hey, I just left you a voicemail. I wanted to detail this out with you. And in there say, I can communicate with text or email or phone call, whichever works for you. And that lets them know, because then it's not a bombardment. This guy left me a voicemail. That's weird. Oh, but he did email and he explained it.
Well, what's interesting though is that the voicemail transcription for most English-speaking people, I don't have to listen to voicemails when people read them.
I can just read it.
I can read it.
Yeah.
And every once in a while you read it, it doesn't make any sense. You've got to listen to it and figure out what it is.
Oh, okay.
Where the transcription's not good. But one of the things that drives me nuts,
Cowboys' butts?
No.
Say that you don't find baby pigeons?
Yes. Wait a minute. There was a Facebook group I saw the other day. It was pigeons are just CIA surveillance drones that recharge on power lines. Right? That's why they're always sitting on power lines. That's how they recharge. Little resistors in their feet.
I don't know where you come up with this shit.
And you're the conspiracy theorist.
Yeah.
I was just ending up on the ends of Facebook. I shouldn't have been. But when you get into communication, respect for time. So the cell phones have made things, and whenever I get new salespeople, I have to stress this to them, that if you want to be treated as a professional, you have to act as a professional.
Yep.
So if somebody sends me a text at 10:30 at night and asks me a question, I'm either not going to respond to it unless it's absolutely urgent, and it's going to have to be pretty urgent.
Dude, I stopped responding to business texts after 8 o'clock. That's it. It can wait till the next day. Man.
I've had some people blow me up where they're like, "Hey, do you have an answer for this? We're waiting on this." And my response would be very simple: "Hey, I've got no problem looking into this for you. I'll be back at the office at 8:30 in the morning."
Now, my favorite thing to do is text them back at 5 a.m. when I get up to go pee. I just text them back and then go back to bed.
But Sundays are a great example. So in my industry in the state of Texas, you're mandated to be closed either Saturday or Sunday. You can't engage in any sales activities. So people will call or text us on Sunday. And I had a lady get mad. She called in the store and said, look, I asked your salesperson for information and he didn't respond to me. I said, well, that's unlike him. Let me look into it. Well, I called her back. I said, ma'am, you texted him at 9:45 at night on a Saturday. Well, yeah, but I needed the information. Great. We closed at 8. I stress with my salespeople that their personal time is their personal time.
Yeah, is Google broken?
At the same time, it goes on to the, we have people. I had a guy completely destroy the clutch in a car on a test drive yesterday. And just will not take any responsibility for it. Said it must be something broken with the car. I've got a 2017 Golf R with manual transmission.
Damn it! I wanted to test drive that.
That needs. Well, it's about to have a brand new clutch.
Sweet, break it in.
But the salesman gets back and goes, "Hey man, there's something wrong with this car." Okay, correlation or causation, I don't know, but he wanted to go drive another car. I'm like, no, you've already done
another stick shift,
thousands of dollars worth of damage. He goes, well, he seemed relatively confident. I'm like, if he rested his foot on that clutch and accelerated, that's enough to create slip and destroy the clutch. My tech's got to pull the transmission out tomorrow and see what kind of damage is done, but it's fried. I can barely move the car. So that goes into a personal responsibility conversation, because I went and talked to the guy. I said, hey, when you were driving the car, he goes, well, that wasn't my fault. I said, all I said was when you were driving the car. I was going to ask you what happened. And the guy's like, yeah, that wasn't my fault, and just basically got up and left. Well,
what do you do?
What I want to do is beat $2,000.
Well, it's nothing you can do.
It's like when the kid came in and test drove the Mazda.
Yeah.
At our store, and wrecked it bad and ran away.
Yeah, smooth ran away.
Just ran away.
Got out of the car and ran.
So, I mean, what do you do as the owner of the dealership? Guess what? I got to pay for the car.
Yeah.
And I got to pay for the other car that he hit.
Well, it's just like
$30,000 hit I didn't need.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Well, not only that, but let's look at personal responsibility. So that kid comes in, he wrecks the car. You could press charges against him for destruction of property or something of that nature.
Why?
What are the
17?
Chances?
What's he got? What am I going to win from that?
I hope he wasn't 17. He should have been test driving the car. But that was when his mom was with him, wasn't it?
His mom was with him.
Yeah, and they both ran.
Yeah.
Not very fast, I might add, but
fruit never falls far from the
She
tree.
kind of waddled, but
yeah,
still,
it was a gallop. But the issue is, in these situations, who's responsible? The DA is not going to press charges. He doesn't care. It doesn't affect him. It doesn't help his reelection.
it's just the cost of business.
The same thing with bounce checks. We've had
It's just the cost of business.
$5,000 and $10,000 bounce checks, and the DA just let them rot on the desk.
It's the cost of business.
It is so hard to get any DA to prosecute a bounce check or a hot check, because it doesn't help them win re-election. It's not a criminal case.
Right.
Yeah,
and it's a bunch of cost.
You were talking about bothering you, the wasting of the time. There's something that I've done that one of the things I do is I like to read like sales books and find out new things, and it helps. If you buy a sales book and it costs you $20 and you get one thing out of it that makes you one sale, it's worth all that $20.
I buy books constantly.
One of the things that I use a lot, and it sounds funny if I'm making a whole bunch of calls in a row, but you're not getting all those calls. It's just one person for that one call. But I always ask, did I catch you at a bad time, or do you have a minute?
Will you ask permission for the conversation?
Exactly, because there are people and they go, dude, right now in the middle, I'm trying to load my kid in the car. And I go, not a problem. I can call you back in 10 minutes. And they go, sure. And when that call back, they are now way more accepting of my conversation to hear what I have to say. And they also told you that they're going to sacrifice time, which then makes them feel obligated that you don't waste your time calling them back.
Well,
that's right. I did tell them.
Appointment setting. One of the big issues we have in the auto industry is people feel like they should be able to just show up and have a salesman available. I run a very lean sales crew right now, somewhat intentionally, somewhat not intentionally. Mostly not intentionally, but there's a lack of talent.
You always want more talented sales staff. I mean, that's just going to be a constant battle in any sales-based business.
The way that I've trained these guys to set appointments, because most people just say, oh, I'll be in this afternoon. Okay, I got a 5:15 and a 6:45.
Mm-hmm.
You set them on 15s and 45s. And that's a psychological thing, because it's different than the normal appointment that they see.
Yep.
But people are like, well, I don't know when I'm going to have time. Okay, great. That's no problem whatsoever. The only reason I'm trying to set a time is because we don't have any problem waiting on you. However, we don't want you to have to wait on us.
Yep.
You flip it around.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
And a lot of times at that point, they'll either make a commitment to a time or say, well, let me give you a call back and see when I can be there.
Well,
yeah.
I had a lady
or can I show up on Saturday morning?
Sure. It's the same in real estate, though. I mean, I got a call yesterday morning. Hey, can we look at this building this afternoon? I'm like, well, my afternoon's kind of planned out, but yeah, sure. And, I go, I set a scheduled appointment for 4 o'clock. And at 1 o'clock, I get a text, hey, we decided to come early. We'll be there around 2. Does that work?
No.
And it's like, well, no, it really doesn't. But you all are really nice. And it's Saturday afternoon. I'll just rearrange.
Well,
my
I would love to be
afternoon.
like a doctor's office and charge $100 for a missed appointment.
Well, yeah,
But
Yeah.
you know,
you really can't. You've got to go where the customers want when they want them. And it's
That's
a
the
battle
professionalism
between
argument.
it's a battle
It
between
is.
controlling your own time, controlling your own schedule, and knowing that my clients expect me to sell that building, and they're paying me a lot of money to sell that building. So really, my days aren't my own. My days belong to my clients because that's the agreement I
Yes.
made with them.
but
So
what percentage of your time per day belongs to each property?
as much as is needed.
Right.
And, I'm at the point now where my efficacy is being just chewed up and spit out because I've taken on so many clients because I was worried about, are we going to have enough money? And what we've done with the companies, we spent a bunch of money building a base and building an infrastructure to where
Right.
we can handle all these clients. And now I've got more clients than the infrastructure can handle. I'm desperately trying to train sales staff quick enough to take over the clients.
And you'll be able to dictate some of
when
that stuff
you're-
off
yeah,
to us and
But
everything.
once,
your
once this
cost-
wave of clients is over,
Yeah.
I've learned that my limit is slightly fewer, and I won't be taking as many. But there are people. I mean, we turn down work. There's people queuing up to get media and marketing work done from us. Like other developers coming to us now, and it's like, guys, you got to pump the brakes until I can build this.
Well, I had a conversation with one of my newer salespeople yesterday and said, look, I need you to understand something. I had you talking to customers today because it was a necessity. However, please understand that this isn't going to continue until you're ready.
Well, that's how you got started with talking to customers.
Well,
We were just so busy that one particular day. I just
Yeah.
threw you some keys and said, "Go talk to these guys."
Yeah.
And I mean, that's how it starts. It's out of necessity.
well, but what I'm getting at here is they kind of got mad. They're like, well, I'm ready. It's like, no, here's the deal. Each one of these customers has a cost of acquisition.
Right.
It's very high. And
Very.
so you are costing me money.
We average $600 to $1,000 depending on where the lead source is from. By the time we've boiled through all the partial leads, all the semi-serious leads, all the qualified people that we can actually work with,
Yeah.
it costs me anywhere up to $1,000 to acquire a customer.
Yeah.
And the other agents, they see the house share and the house split, and they're like, man, that's a lot of split. And the negotiations, once I sit down and I show them the breakdown of where we're spending money and how much it costs to actually market properties and actually get to the closing table, everything makes sense.
Well, I want to go back to a personnel thing real quick since we're starting to run short on time.
We are. It's about time to wrap up.
I had an experience this last week that is something I haven't experienced before, where I had made an offer to somebody to come into a position, had pulled a lot of strings, moved a lot of pieces, set the budget up, made it all happen.
And that's the thing. When you think you've got a position covered,
Yeah.
you quit looking for that position.
Ooh.
You're like, I know that this rock star is going to be starting on
Yep.
the 15th of the month. I can go do something else now. That problem's solved.
That person turned their notice into their previous employer. And what I figured out was that they used that opportunity of having a fallback to renegotiate with their current
Leverage.
position as leverage because they knew that if all failed, they had a new place to start.
Yeah, but that happens every single day in the world of business, the world of professional
does.
sports, the world of everything.
But when
if-
you, especially if you have a relationship with a person,
Right. So if I've been working for you for 5 years, and I come to you and say, David, I love you, buddy, but these guys have offered me another position. It's going to pay me, 20 grand a year more. I'm going to be happier.
Yeah.
I'm going to be this. I'm going to be that.
is it an upward movement or is it a lateral move?
It's 20 grand, dude.
Well,
That's
but
up.
hold on.
That's-
If it's a lateral move to the same position, then I failed as an employer in not paying you a market wage.
Right. But if you turn around then and say, you know what, Sam, I like you. I like the work you've done here, and I value you enough to pay you, and I will bump you that 20 grand if you stay.
I wouldn't do it.
See,
But
and-
here's why. One, I know your eyes on the door. And two, I screwed up as an employer and didn't pay you a market wage to begin
and
with.
my eyes on
Right.
my paycheck.
You know,
And so
If
that,
we've got a good relationship and I enjoy my job, there's no reason for me to move if, as an employer, you will match, hey, these guys over here. I mean, it's what happened to me in real estate.
it's a difference of did you seek out that opportunity or did it come to you?
I was
I
offered.
think you have a responsibility to listen to any offer that comes, but it's different if you're actively seeking that opportunity.
See, I wasn't seeking it, and I was offered multiple mid-six-figure positions with other companies.
right.
And when I went to the client I'm with and said, look, I think I'm going to go ahead and take this opportunity, all of a sudden, a mid-six-figure opportunity appeared with that client.
but that's a different situation in your industry that works differently.
But
Right.
blaming
In his situation, I think it's.
I
nuts.
understand that as an employer, you want to keep your best guys and you want to recruit other people's top talent. That's
Mhm.
you don't want to find miserable guys. You want to find happy guys and say, how can we make
See,
you
I'm a little
happier?
weird because I will not reach out and try to recruit other people's people. If they come to me, I want our image and our message to be so good
Yeah, poaching's
that
not.
I won't
the
play the
best thing.
poaching game. I don't. I don't want to say I'm above that, but I don't want it done to me, so I'm not going to do it to other people.
I want to do it with
Karma's a big
top
thing, I
sales
think.
guys. You know,
But I want to create such a buzz and such an opportunity that they seek it out.
I
And I
think,
get a phone call that says,
and they
"Do
will.
you have space?"
They will.
and I think your play a lot on Karma and stuff is a long-term play, which is good. And then I think that person that did that for you, yes, maybe they were offered something they couldn't turn down, but they literally looked at like a 3-month window for their benefit because, just like you said, their current employer is going to be like, he was already looking at the door.
Right.
You now would probably be very hesitant to offer that guy, or
I
even
wouldn't. It's off the table.
or even recommend somebody
Yeah.
to hire him. So that
Are
guy
we on
kind of
next
shot
week?
himself in the foot for
Because one or two
outside the
things-
3 months
next week.
next
One or
window.
two things happen. One, they're already looking for his replacement, and they want him to leave on their terms and not his.
If they already weren't looking for
Right.
it, right?
Right. Or he has an employer that is unwilling to pay market rate because they think he'll work for less.
Correct.
So on
And
that bombshell,
On that bombshell, ladies and gentlemen, it is time to wrap this up. I want to throw a huge thanks to my panel of speakers here, David and Alex. Thanks for coming out and doing this. And a huge thanks to the guys at Texas Media Foundry that make us look good. If you guys need media, if you guys need to be made look good, these are the guys to holler at. And a very final thank you to Hideaway Humidor for having
Yep.
us out here. Now, newsflash, we will not be live next week. There'll be a pre-recorded episode. It's Father's Day, so we're going to go with the pre-recorded route. There will be a show, but we won't be live. So if you've got any questions you want answered or any topics discussed for next week, shoot them over on the Facebook page, throw them up there, and we'll get to them. And other than that, you'll enjoy Father's Day. You'll have a great week at work, and we will see you in 2 weeks' time. Have a great week, guys.
thank
Bye.
you all.
Thanks.